Breaking news now on Fox News Channel. The Russian President Vladimir Putin has handed a victory to Syria's murderous dictator Bashar al-Assad. Victory in a proxy war pitting the United States against Russia and Syria. Now, defeated survivors are leaving what's left of their homes in Syria's largest city. It is a big win for the dictator who's killed countless women and children with poisonous gas. Today, emergency workers began evacuating people trapped in Aleppo after rebel fighters gave up the city to government forces. Among the survivors, hundreds wounded in the fighting, including children. Volunteers claimed they came under fire today while clearing a path for evacuations. It is unclear officially who was shooting at them. The evacuations mark the end of months of bloody fighting in that city. The fall of Aleppo came as part of a Russian-backed ceasefire. Russia is a longtime supporter of Syria's dictator Bashar al-Assad and provided airstrikes to assist in the murder of more than 400,000 people by Assad's forces. Secretary of State John Kerry spoke about that a short time ago.
And there is absolutely no justification whatsoever for the indiscriminate and savage brutality against civilians shown by the regime and by its Russian and Iranian allies over the past few weeks, or indeed for the past 5 years.
The war there could be a major test for President-elect Donald Trump, who says he wants a closer relationship with Russia, a closer relationship with Vladimir Putin, the same Vladimir Putin who just assisted in the slaughter of thousands. So that we are perfectly clear here, and as we have been reporting on this program for years, this is a civil war, but it is and has been much more. This is a proxy war between the United States supporting rebels in Syria against the forces of the murderous dictator Bashar al-Assad, the Iranian forces, and the Russian military. The United States and the rebels just lost a major battle in that war with no signs of victory ahead. Hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians have been murdered, some reportedly through war crimes, including barrel bombs and gassing. Vladimir Putin's forces made this possible. It could not have happened without him. Today, thousands are at last fleeing the forces defeating our proxies. Witnesses inside Aleppo say civilian bodies litter the city, the ruins stained with the blood of the people. The world has watched as Bashar al-Assad, with the help of the Russians and Vladimir Putin, has slaughtered civilians for years. Josh Lederman is here, the White House reporter for the Associated Press. A proxy war between the United States and Russia, with our proxies being the rebels in Syria and Russia, along with Bashar al-Assad's forces. And we've lost again, and thousands are dead. Now what?
Well, now what is certainly the big question. And you're right that this has pitted the U.S. against Russia in a very sharp way over the last few years. Now, the big question, as you have this big culminating moment in Aleppo, a watershed moment that really strengthens Assad's hand, coming at the same time that the Obama administration is coming to an end, is what happens next? How does President-elect Donald Trump try to tackle this issue? And does he move the U.S. towards a closer alignment with Russia's goals, trying to focus exclusively on counterterrorism and fighting ISIS as opposed to trying to marginalize Assad, as he's spoken about doing in the past few months? Or does he find that that strategy is really not going to be any more effective and essentially come around to where Obama has been for the last few years?
What have diplomats suggested are the options for Bashar al-Assad?
Well, Bashar Assad is in pretty strong condition right now. This was a major victory for him. And like it or not for the U.S., the Russian military intervention in Syria that the U.S. said was going to be a quagmire that Assad and Russia would regret has actually been very effective. It has managed to put Assad back into a position of power compared to the U.S.-backed rebels, and has made it so that it doesn't look like he's in any apparent danger of falling anytime soon. So for Assad, this is all the justification that he feels he needs to go to the international community and say, look, I'm winning this, I'm fighting counterterrorism efforts, and the rest of the world should align with me instead of trying to support my opponents like the rebels that the United States and others have been trying to prop up.
The Secretary of State trying to suggest that the United States will do and has done all that it can. History may reflect poorly on that assessment.
We saw really intense broadside from Secretary of State Kerry just a few minutes ago at the State Department, not only decrying the violence, but trying to put this all on Assad and on his Russian backers, saying that Assad was not just going after people and having some collateral damage with civilian casualties, but that this was a purposeful attempt to try to terrorize civilians. But you can sense a level of desperation in that there's not a whole lot more that the U.S. feels that it can do other than decry what Syria has been doing in louder and louder terms, unless the U.S. is willing to actually go in there militarily in a way that the Obama administration has made very clear they don't feel will be an effective solution to this crisis.
And Congress gave no voice at all in any way to this conflict, did it?
Well, you know, Congress, a lot of lawmakers on the Hill would like to see a more forceful response by the U.S. militarily, but what the Obama administration has been saying for many years now is that none of those lawmakers have been able to express some type of actual strategy, a military solution that would have any likelihood of actually resolving this crisis, given the deep sectarian nature of the conflict and the various forces that are fighting there. So this administration has not been willing to go down that road. Donald Trump has given some indications he might be more likely to pursue that type of a strategy, but we'll have to wait and see what exactly he does once he takes office.
Our UN Ambassador Samantha Power yesterday likened this to the war crimes and the massacre, the slaughter at Srebrenica. Does this fit historically, from your knowledge and reporting, with that? And how does the United States, well, in some ways recover from this?
Well, they're not exact parallels, but UN Ambassador Power also brought up the genocide in Rwanda as a similar example, trying to describe just the level of distress and civilian casualties that we've seen inflicted. The administration has been overall less inclined to sort of link all of those things in one chain, but certainly what we're seeing is a level of destruction, not only in Aleppo but in other parts of Syria, that are going to go down in the history books as one of the worst things that we've seen so far in the 21st century, Shep.
Josh Lederman from the Associated Press. It is posted at the White House. Josh, thank you.